The ground beneath you is solid. You trust it completely. You have never once questioned whether the floor would hold your weight, whether the walls would stay standing, whether the ceiling would remain above your head. That trust is about to become the most dangerous thing you own. When an earthquake strikes, your first instinct is to feel the shaking, the vibration in your feet, the rattle of windows, the sway of light fixtures. Your brain screams one word: earthquake. And for the next few seconds, the ground moves, you hold on, and you wait. But here is what most people never understand. The shaking is not what kills you. Of the 10 deadliest earthquakes in recorded history, the ground movement itself accounted for almost none of the deaths. The 2010 Haiti earthquake killed an estimated 220,000 people. The shaking lasted less than 30 seconds. What happened in the minutes, hours, and days after is what turned a geological event into a mass grave. The United States Geological Survey has studied earthquake mortality for over a century. Their data is consistent and brutal. Between 1900 and 2020, roughly 90% of all earthquake deaths came from one cause: buildings falling on people, not the earth swallowing them, not the ground opening up. Just walls, roofs, and floors that were never built to survive the one thing they were always going to face. Think about that for a moment. The deadliest part of an earthquake is not the earthquake, it is the architecture. When the 1923 Great Kanto earthquake struck Japan, the initial shaking destroyed thousands of structures. But it was the fires that followed which killed the most people. Cooking stoves overturned. Wooden buildings ignited. Gas lines ruptured across Tokyo and Yokohama. Firestorms swept through neighborhoods so fast that entire crowds were trapped and burned alive. An estimated 105,000 people died, and historians believe fewer than 10% of those deaths were caused directly by the ground shaking. The rest burned. Dr. Lucy Jones, one of the most recognized seismologists in the United States and a longtime researcher with the USGS and Caltech, has said publicly that earthquake deaths are almost entirely a problem of infrastructure, not geology. The ground shakes. The buildings fail. The people inside them are crushed. And the buildings that fail first are almost always the ones you would expect: unreinforced masonry, brick walls without steel frames, concrete without rebar, structures built before modern seismic codes existed. In many developing nations, these buildings still make up the majority of homes, schools, and hospitals. When the Haiti earthquake struck on January 12, 2010, the country had no national building code. The presidential palace collapsed. The main hospital collapsed. The United Nations headquarters collapsed. Buildings that were supposed to represent stability and authority simply folded in on themselves, trapping and killing everyone inside. But even in countries with strict building codes, the shaking is only the first domino. Consider what happens to water systems after a major quake. Pipes rupture underground. Sewage lines break. Clean water stops flowing within hours. In 2011, the Tohoku earthquake in Japan was followed by a massive tsunami that destroyed water treatment facilities along the entire northeast coast. Communities that survived the wave suddenly had no clean water. Disease followed. Cholera, dysentery, and infections spread through shelters where hundreds of people shared unsanitary conditions. The World Health Organization has documented this pattern repeatedly. After the 2005 Kashmir earthquake, waterborne illness killed survivors who had already outlived the collapse. After the 2001 Gujarat earthquake in India, contaminated water caused an outbreak of gastrointestinal disease that hospitals were too damaged to treat. And hospitals themselves become part of the killing chain. When a 7-magnitude earthquake hits a city, the hospitals are among the buildings most likely to suffer structural damage. The very places designed to save lives become death traps. Medical equipment is destroyed. Sterile environments are breached. Doctors and nurses are themselves injured or killed. In the 2010 Haiti earthquake, Médecins Sans Frontières reported that all 3 of their facilities in Port-au-Prince were damaged or rendered non-functional. Surgeons operated in parking lots. Antibiotics ran out within days. Infections that would have been routine to treat in a functioning hospital became fatal. Then there is a phenomenon so grim that most people have never heard of it: crush syndrome. When a building collapses, people are trapped beneath concrete slabs, steel beams, and heavy debris. Their bodies are compressed. Blood flow is restricted. Muscle tissue begins to die. As the muscle breaks down, it releases a protein called myoglobin and high levels of potassium into the bloodstream. If the person is rescued quickly, they often appear to be fine. They are conscious. They are talking. They thank their rescuers. Then, minutes after the pressure is released, the potassium floods into their heart. Their cardiac rhythm collapses. They go into cardiac arrest. They die. This is crush syndrome, first described in detail by Dr. Eric Bywaters after the London Blitz in 1941, when bombing victims who were pulled from rubble alive would die shortly afterward. The same mechanism kills earthquake survivors today. One of the most documented cases occurred during the 1995 Kobe earthquake in Japan, where rescuers watched survivors die in their arms after being freed from collapsed buildings. The cruel irony is that the act of being saved can be the thing that kills you. Unless the rescuers know to administer intravenous saline and monitor potassium levels before removing the compression. Most civilian rescuers do not know this. Most disaster zones do not have the supplies. And so people who survived the shaking, survived the collapse, and survived hours under rubble die in the first moments of freedom. Now consider fire. When an earthquake ruptures gas lines, the fuel that heats your home and cooks your food becomes an ignition source. In 1906, the San Francisco earthquake lasted less than a minute. The fires that followed burned for 3 days. Over 80% of the city was destroyed by fire, not by the shaking. The death toll, estimated between 700 and 3,000 people, was overwhelmingly caused by flames and smoke. Firefighters could not respond because water mains had broken underground. The same pipes that carried drinking water also supplied fire hydrants. One broken system disabled both. No water to drink, no water to fight fires. The city burned while its people thirsted. Landslides are another silent multiplier. When seismic waves pass through mountainous terrain, the vibration destabilizes slopes that have been accumulating loose soil and rock for decades. In 2008, the Sichuan earthquake in China triggered over 60,000 landslides across the affected region. Entire villages were buried. Roads were cut off. Rescue teams could not reach survivors for days. The 1970 Ancash earthquake in Peru triggered a landslide that buried the town of Yungay under a wall of rock, ice, and mud traveling at over 100 miles per hour. An estimated 20,000 people died in that single slide. The shaking itself lasted a few seconds. The mudslide took minutes. The burials were permanent. And then there is liquefaction, a word that sounds like science fiction, but describes something terrifyingly real. When certain types of soil are saturated with water and then subjected to seismic waves, the ground loses its structural integrity. It behaves like a liquid. Buildings do not collapse because the walls are weak. They collapse because the ground underneath them turns into something that cannot hold weight. The soil sinks. The structures tilt. They sink into what was solid ground moments before. During the 2011 Christchurch earthquake in New Zealand, liquefaction pushed thousands of tons of silt and sand up through cracks in streets and into homes. Entire neighborhoods were declared uninhabitable. The ground itself had failed. So when you picture an earthquake, do not picture the shaking. Picture the building that was never retrofitted. Picture the water pipe that burst 20 feet underground. Picture the gas line that sparked in a kitchen you have never seen. Picture the slope that slid. Picture the soil that liquefied. Picture the hospital that could not function. Picture the rescuer who did not know about crush syndrome. The shaking is a trigger. Everything that follows is the weapon. This is why earthquake preparedness is not about surviving the 30 seconds of ground motion. It is about the infrastructure you depend on for the next 30 days. Do you have water stored? Do you know how to shut off your gas line? Is your home bolted to its foundation? Are the heavy objects in your room secured to the wall so they do not become projectiles? The Federal Emergency Management Agency recommends every household keep at least 72 hours of water, food, and emergency supplies. 72 hours. That is the window most experts agree it will take for organized rescue and supply chains to reach you. In practice, as the 2010 Haiti earthquake showed, it can be weeks. Dr. Jones has spent decades trying to communicate one simple idea to the public. Earthquakes do not kill people. Buildings kill people. Infrastructure kills people. Systems kill people. The ground shakes. Everything else is a failure of human preparation. You live on a planet where the crust is in constant motion. Tectonic plates shift at roughly the same speed your fingernails grow. Most of the time, this movement is invisible. Occasionally, it is sudden. And when it is sudden, the question is not whether the ground will move under you. The question is whether everything you built on top of it is ready. The ground beneath you is solid. You trust it completely, but trust is not a survival strategy. Preparation is.